Hello and welcome. Today we have ourselves a student game. Uh, it was not like the best game, but a very interesting one. There'll be a lot of lessons to learn. Mostly, I'm interested in the game pattern. If you go to see student who was black started off with a disadvantage with white taking the lead, but then he pulls back and takes the lead, and there's a bit of a tug of war there, and it finally ends up in a draw, even though student had a small advantage. So we're going to explore this further because I think the end game is going to come to the fore, and it should come to the fore for all of us. Let's first just flip this. Our student was black. We're not going to spend too much time on the opening as usual, because opening is for losers. Openings for losers. Here, yeah, good question. You pretty much got to take, bro, because after he takes this here, then he just wins the pawn. So no choice there. You have to respond. Be comfortable with such a position, especially after they invest a move to attack your bishop. Then it's totally fine to trade, even though it's bishop or knight. I mean, everything is subjective, but you capture, 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 and then capture here. It's not bad. It's pretty decent. Okay, so instead, well, he makes an error in how he captures it, but still. And now here's the problem. The problem is there's no follow-up plan really. It's just kind of like an attempt at masala. That's how I would categorize this. It's an attempt to spice things up because you're a pawn down. I mean, the obvious idea would be right here, right? Yeah, right there. And put pressure on this, try to win it back. It won't be easy, but because he'll be able to get that piece, but you'll have this one. And yeah, it's not so straightforward, okay? I agree. So, but still, queen check is helping him. Because you still have to deal with this knight. And this is also not the best square for it because he can't come out here or here. Okay. You're just keeping it together. I like this. Keeping it together. You're getting back in the mode. I like this. It's it feels like you're acknowledging that something has gone wrong. And you're trying to patch things up bit by bit. Work hard and patch it up. That's the way to go. I like that. This move is not appropriate. You should just take back that pawn now. Just take back that pawn. You have it. You still have it for free. Here you're helping him to potentially defend it. He doesn't. That's a different story. All right. Now with the bishop under attack, a lot of stuff going on now. Now the game has cracked open a little bit. A lot of things going on here. You have to be very vigilant. I think a move like bishop here or here seem quite playable. In fact, I would prefer here because, well, this looks annoying, but maybe it's not a big deal. But it's still annoying. So instead, you have played the computer move, which is the right move, which is to ignore this. What? Oh yeah, of course, because you got the check in between intermezzo move. Should he capture, you have the intermezzo check. And in fact, not taking the intermezzo check, but resting in the discomfort of having loose pieces, dual loose pieces, is what you opted for. And that also turns out to be the best choice. But a very complex game to play here, very complicated game. Let's give our students some credit here for thinking complicatedly. Thinking complicatedly. I would very much think capturing here with check is better. As I mean, but AI thinks this is best. AI thinks it's best anyway. Okay, so Now you've got to rescue the knight. He's now potentially in harm's way. So we bring him back. Okay. Keeping a lot of pieces on the board, a lot of tension in the position. Anything can happen here, actually. This is a high level game. This is a serious game. That is, yeah. I was thinking knight here is so nice, just blocking that rook. This square is a bit of a hot spot. I guess this knight is also defending it, so it has some merit there, but it's too prone to being pushed around. You don't want to have your knight easily pushed around. It often comes as a big surprise and changes the momentum of a game. And therefore, you actually played this move to prevent that. But it's not optimal because there's a nice tactic out here. Is that you go play here and you can win the knight. Okay, let's see that line. It's a bit yeah, it's super complicated, man. That line is super complicated. That's a super complicated line. But white is the one who has to play with the creativity to keep the balance. Because this move otherwise is just a stunner for people. White has to maintain the creativity by doubling down the threat over here, which is attacking a piece that's allowing his knight to potentially get out of the way with a check. So, and instead of retaliating to any of that, you capture the central pawn, which is a way, way, way complex move. That's a tough move to find for black. I don't know. I don't even know what's going on. It's a very tough position. But okay. Instead, we have this slow move here. And white doesn't take the opportunity to do anything. So he's still vulnerable. And now black finds it. Now black finds it. Great move, great spot, and white wasn't good enough to play that move, you see. It's too tough for these boys. So great move, a lot of hard work coming into fruition now, and we can. Oh, what? Plot twist. Just when you least expected, right? Why not this? Is he worried about the pressure piling up? Even though you can kind of defend it and get out of the way and defend it too. Not sure. This is aggressive looking, but there's no easy mate here. So white's back in the game now. And white have to settle for this end game. So we've gone into the end game with an advantage, but it's an end game, and end game is not student's strong point, you see. The student has not worked on his end game. He's not been tested. Many of the games end before the end game. This is most likely one of, you know. So, very tough position. Very tough position. And now when it comes to the end game, you got to think of your plans. You got to have your game plan in mind. How are you going to win the game? That's what you got to ask yourself. What's my winning plan? First, you have to assess, is this a winning endgame? Is it a losing endgame? Or is it a dead draw endgame? And accordingly, you have to have a plan, a strategy. Here, you're up on material, right? You've got this passed pawn, but the king's in the way. Okay, this is a consideration. You've got a pawn majority against this guy, so you should manage a passed pawn at the end of this. And bishop's got nice support here. So this could be a good square, but the king is well poised to defend, and that's going to pose challenges. So this alone would not be sufficient, most likely. However, there's also some imbalance here, and this is where black needs to actually focus. Black needs to just disturb the woodwork here a little bit. That's definitely one of the key areas. So this pawn break key plan. Also, you gotta be clear on your rook's dynamic. Do you want to have rooks off the board or on the board? What do you think? I think in this position, off the board probably helps you because you have a material edge. So it helps you. That's the general rule of thumb is that rooks help you to draw games. But okay, instead we have a very kind of middle game move. This is not an end game move. This is a middle game move. Uh, it's already defended. It's a defensive. It's a it's not ideal. It's activating the rook in a unique way, but without much else to say. It's just. But I guess it is defending as well. So maybe the fear of the attack was weighing on his mind here. We should have known, however, that this bishop provides pretty good defensive coverage too. Anywho, it's still okay. Now black plays a release move. This is a release move, and white very much equal to the task here, but so far so good for black. So I like the way he's handled this so far. But it's not clear, and yeah, this is perhaps okay, but this pawn is a little bit weak actually. So there is merit in this kind of idea. There is some merit. Instead, he gets the opportunity to sink a pawn in here, which is not the best move, mind you, but it can be an annoying one from a mobility standpoint. I can imagine black not knowing where to move his bloody rook because all these squares are taken. He does have squares, however. He can go, he's not chained in here, but it can feel like he's chained in. So that's the point I'm going to say here. And now we have, okay, so this is perhaps a trade of rooks which is not optimal. Um, yeah, in this case, you see the two rooks are helping you to maintain a strong defense. I did not think of this move. I was thinking like king here, I thought might be pretty good. But now that I see it, bishop check comes in the way, so I'm not really sure. Hmm. Computer was very much preferring instead to hold attention, kind of keep a neutral position. So yeah, it wasn't easy to make progress, right? And it all, in a way, comes back down to right when we were over here, black needed to kind of start making a move on things, start getting active. But okay, this is where we're at. And white is quite happy to play a bit passively. He could have attacked the loose pawn, but he's playing instead for checks and giggles, I guess. And this pawn check is a bad move. This whole thing is what your opponent loves. This is where the threat, the danger, the risk is. This has fallen right into white's hands here. But maybe it's not the end of the story just yet. Oh, it's a nervy game. Very nervy game now. Anything can happen here. Oh, see, there, I understand the pressure, but you can move your king here, you see? It's fine. In fact, the rook is the one who has to hide after that. After this check, the rook is the one who's in trouble. Here, but he's not. Okay, he's also trying to hold on to that pawn. We deliver a check in the middle. That's also fine, but you still got to hold this. So I'm not sure. Unless we go for a double tango, which isn't a great idea because he comes in with check. And therefore your rook is now rooted here. So holds back and they agree on a draw, I think, or was it three full repetition? I don't know. But it wasn't a draw. The fight needed to go on. The fight should have gone on. And well, how could one have fought here? Well, how could one have fought? Let's see. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's not an easy position. Difficult and arguably White could play for a draw. Anyway, it's a very tough position to convert. So yeah, all in all, an interesting game, a good one for learning and development. See you next time.